northern end of the central part, if I can put it that way, where we have the great mass of Euston Station, and then just in the distance St Pancras and King's Cross and the British Library, distinctive shape of the British Library there too. So this is where the campaign starts for the Prime Minister, having made that announcement in Downing Street this morning and having visited Buckingham Palace. Because if you've just joined us here on the BBC News Channel and on BBC One, this is a BBC special programme which is recording today's events and just telling you to confirm really that the Prime Minister has announced that May the 6th will be the date for the general election. Widely expected, but formally confirmed this morning. The Prime Minister got the Queen's permission to dissolve Parliament. That'll happen next Monday, the 12th of April, and Parliament will reconvene after the election of May the 6th on the 18th of May, and the state opening of Parliament, when the new government, if it is a new government, or the Labour government, if it's a continuation of that, will present their new programme, or indeed if it's a coalition of parties, who knows what the ultimate result will be, because lots of the polls over the last few weeks have given us some rather conflicting messages. Prime Minister right now, Laura, is turning into the main forecourt there, just beyond St Pancras Station, so he's almost there. Wondering what his thoughts will be when he knows that that month is ahead of him.
Wouldn't it be amazing to be inside his head and to know what he's really thinking at this moment? Especially because when you think about the fact that Gordon Brown wanted this job for so long, but he has never fought a general election as the potential Prime Minister. And of course, some people believe that the biggest mistake he has made since he's been in Number 10 is not having a general election much sooner. Of course, there was that potential that he would have a general election just a few short months after he moved into Number 10 back in 2007, but at the last minute he decided against it, earning himself the rather unkind nickname of Bottler Brown. And some people around here do believe that if he'd done that, he may well have won. That would have secured Labour a fourth term in government for the first time ever. It would have achieved his own long-held ambition to win a general election as the Prime Minister. But he didn't take that chance, and now, of course, the polls look very different indeed.
There we have the very familiar Gothic facade of St Pancras, which has been magnificently refurbished, and the Prime Minister's car stopped just outside that main entrance. We can see the Prime Minister there with Mrs Brown and being greeted by some well-wishers. And making their way into the station itself. As ever with these things, Laura, you wonder sometimes how exactly these events are constructed and how much preparation goes into them, or whether it's all Prime Minister really just meeting people who happen to be there.
As if by magic. I think often at these kinds of campaigning events, you're right, it is rather difficult to tell if they are genuinely members of the public who've thought, oh jolly good, there's the Prime Minister, I'll go and have a look and say hi, or whether or not they are what are sometimes called endorsers, those members of the party or activists who suddenly appear at the convenient times in order to greet party leaders just where they happen to be walking along the street. I have to say, from an aerial view there, I'm unable to tell which it is. Sometimes these faces of party activists become rather familiar, and you can tell whether they are genuine well-wishers or whether they are people who are somehow linked with a political party. Clearly Gordon Brown
yes, indeed.
relishing that chance to say hello either to some party friends or to shake hands with some members of the public.
So it's 5 past midday, and the Prime Minister has arrived at St Pancras Station, because that's where the first journey of this campaign will begin for him anyway, because he's going to start on the train with the journey to the southeast of England. I think Nick Robinson mentioned Kent earlier on, but it'll be the southeast of England, and that's where his campaigning will start, and no doubt there'll be lots of visits to marginals, but this is the welcome for Mr Brown and his wife. Possibly some party workers among them at St Pancras Station. And as we heard a short while ago, David Cameron and Nick Clegg too embarking on their campaign trail, but in different parts of the country. So we'll get a good sense by later tonight of the kind of pattern of journeys and campaigning that we've had today on this first day, and a sense really of the appetite of all of these party leaders for covering long distances in just one day's campaigning. The marginals, clearly, the marginal seats, and there are at least 30 of them where they really can be called super marginals, where there'll be a lot of attention on precisely what the parties are trying to do. How much of a campaign team will the Prime Minister have with him on these journeys, Laura? Do you think, is it quite a big team, or lots of the Prime Ministerial entourage will have been left behind?
Well, of course, there is a separation because people who've worked in Downing Street, many of them are civil servants, they'll all be staying behind. But in terms of the political teams, I think there will be quite a lot of them on the road. In terms of the debates, for example, we are expecting, in fact, from each political party, perhaps as many as 50 from each team. Now, I imagine because those are going to be such massive events that the gathered ranks will be bigger than they would be on a day-to-day basis. But it is a huge logistical operation to run these kinds of days when party leaders are out going to various different places during the day. And there are, therefore,